Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you've been following along, in the past few weeks I've been putting videos on algorithmic trading and breakouts. So in this video I actually have a working algorithm to trade breakouts intraday. So as usual I have two scripts. One will be the main script and the other will be the script with all the functions. And in the main script I just source the functions by running the following line. So the way I have this algorithm set up is it will scan every 5 minutes, and if we find any breakouts, then I will actually send an order to the RobinHood app. So this following line creates a time sequence in 5-minute intervals. So if you watch my previous videos on algorithmic trading, these scripts might look familiar. So the way that the system is set up is that we create time sequences, in this case every 5 minutes, and we use those as start times for the algorithm. So when the algorithm starts, it'll go through a series of instructions and send orders if we have any breakouts, and then after that's completed, it'll put the system to sleep until the very next bar. So again, this line will just generate a time sequence of 5-minute intervals. If the algorithm breaks for any reason throughout the day, you would just run the following line. This will remove any time sequences that have already passed so that we make sure it picks up the very next bar. And then finally, to run the algorithm, you would just need to run these two lines, but I'll go through an example so that you know how this all works. So if we open the scan block, so at every interval I'm sourcing the functions so that these functions are available within the scope. So the next thing we'll do is we're going to use pb apply and send our symbols as a list and apply the function. So the function will actually subset the optimize lookback days, volume days, and holding bars, which you will need to manually enter in the function script. So these are the best combinations that I found for the following tickers using optimization. Now these may vary or change with time, but for now, these are the optimized results. So we have the ticker, the look back days, the volume days, and the holding bars. You will need to manually enter those in after you run your optimization. So for the algorithm, I'm just going to be trading these 4 tickers. And of course, towards the top, you'll see the required packages, and you'll also need to enter your username and password to get into the RobinHood app. This time difference variable will just use your local time to get your local time zone and do any adjustments and return the difference in hours between your local time zone and New York or Eastern time. All right, so let's go back to our main script. So again, we're passing in our symbol. I'm formatting some columns just to make sure that these are numeric. I'm going to get historical data for that symbol at 5-minute intervals. If it was successful in retrieving historical data, I'm going to save it into this df variable, and then I'm going to use that data to get the breakouts. After we get the breakouts, I'm going to add a new column that will indicate when we need to actually close our position, and this is the variable we will be actually returning. So let's run through an example. I'll go ahead and minimize this. So let's go to our console. Here I'll do x equals 2. I'll go ahead and maximize this. So for each of the tickers, it'll return 2 things. First, you'll see the last 3 bars and the number of times that bar was above all other bars according to the optimization. So here at 1250, we see that out of the 9 bars it looked at, this bar was actually higher than 6 other bars. But in order for us to count it as a breakout, this number needs to be a 9 or an 8 for the Qs according to the optimization. And also the volume needs to be greater than the average volume. So the next block actually gives you the last time it broke out on volume. And here we could manually check that this bar's volume was greater than the average volume, which is why I considered this a breakout. So for each of the tickers, you'll get a printout of the last 3 bars and the last 2 breakouts it had. All right, so let's go back to our script. All right, so after we get the data and the breakouts, I'm going to remove any empty list in case we didn't get any data for any ticker. So I'll go ahead and run that line. I'll then row bind all the breakouts together. So let's take a look at data. So these are all the breakouts in the past week. So we have the symbol, open, high, low, close volume, the highest price in the look back period, the average volume, end days higher, when the breakout actually happened, and when we actually need to close our position. We will then use this data to make any trading decisions. So let's go back to our script. So I'm going to format the current timestamp and adjust it by 10 minutes because RobinHood bars are indexed at the start. So I'll go ahead and run that line. So after we adjusted the bar, I'm going to compare it to the data and see if we get any matching cases. So if I run that line and we take a look at open, we see that we have no matching cases, therefore there are no breakouts in this bar. So if we go back to our script, in the case that we do actually have any breakouts, I will then send the orders, and here you will need to specify the maximum allocation for each of the tickers. So I have this set equal to 50 for each ticker. and this will actually send orders in fractional shares. It'll only send the orders if the number of rows in open is greater than 0. So in our case, for this bar, we don't actually open any orders. So go ahead and run that. So in order to close our positions, we will subset our data that matches our current bar, but this will be a work in progress as we can get errors running it this way. So this might change in the future, and if I do find a better way to close out the positions, I'll go ahead and update the script. So after we're done opening and closing positions, we will print out any new positions that we've opened onto the console, and then finally we will just set the system to sleep until the very next bar. So it'll keep looping until all the time intervals are exhausted. So that's the end of this scan block. So go ahead and minimize it. Alright, so again, to start the algorithm, you would just need to run these 2 lines. So let's go to our console and hit run. The script will actually calculate the number of hours until the market open. So here we will now set the system to sleep for 16 hours, and it will start on 5/28 at 6:30. So at this point, you could just leave the script alone and it will pick up at 6:30 and start the scan. Alright, so let's go back to our script. I did want to go over some functions, so let's take a look at some of these functions. So to get historical data, we're using our RobinHood app. Again, you would need to insert your username and password, and we will use the get historicals wrapper to get a week's worth of data, convert it into an XDS object, and return the open, high, low, close, and volume. So that's what this wrapper will be doing. I'm not going to be going over these 2 functions. If you need more information on these 2, you can actually refer to my previous videos where I go over these in detail. The add close bar wrapper, that's not in my previous videos, but it's just simply subsetting the breakouts and adding the time interval we need to close our position. Here we have some more functions that will enable us to actually trade in fractional shares. So here I have done some modifications in order for us to trade those. Since we are trading in fractional shares, we need to send market orders. And currently for these order wrappers, I just have this set equal to 4 tickers. So if your algorithm requires to trade more than 4 tickers, you would just need to copy and paste and add more cases. So for instance, if we have 2 new orders we need to place, we would subset the first ticker and the second ticker, get the latest quote from Robinhood, calculate the number of shares, and send the orders. So here we have 2 separate orders for when the number of tickers we need to open is equal to 2. If we have 3 tickers to open, you would find 3 separate orders, and the maximum I have is just 4 since we're only trading 4. So we'll have 4 separate orders, but I think this is just kind of intuitive. If you need to add more, just copy and paste and change the case. Same thing for the closing positions. I have it set equal to only 4, similar to the opening positions. So again, if you have more than 4 tickers, then you would just copy and paste and add orders. So let's go ahead and minimize this function. These last 3 wrappers are just helper functions. So day to day will actually calculate and find the very next available trading day. Sleep will just put the system to sleep until the very next bar, and get TMZ or get times will just generate a sequence of time intervals specified by the time and force you insert here in this parameter. So this concludes the video, guys. I will end up probably modifying how we close out our positions, but other than that, the script will remain intact, and I will post the link to the GitHub down in the description area. Let me know what you guys think. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.